I'm recording. Allison, it's all yours. I'm gonna mute myself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paula. I will try to live up to that really lovely introduction, everyone. So thank you so much. Thanks to Paula for having me on today. I know we met at one of the regional meetings for the SBDCs at lovely Cape Cod several months ago. And we were all chatting about the war on talent, right? It's a very dramatic way to say it, but I think we're all feeling it in all kinds of different ways. We want to know where the people went, where are the workers, how do we keep the ones we have, and probably what we should be doing to create optimal organizations and companies going forward, right? Looking ahead. We're already in October. We're looking ahead to 2023. So we want to talk about what may or may not be coming down the pike in terms of economic situations, right? Which looks like a little bit like a roller coaster, a little bit like a wavy ocean, depending on who you're listening to. But we've got to create some solid strategies as employers, as small employers, especially, to be able to sustain our growth, our productivity, and our revenue as we go to the fourth quarter and as we go into the new year. So we're going to talk about all that today. And I have some slides. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly. I hope there's some nuggets of information you take from that. But as Paula mentioned, I think the real advantage here will be as we can all discuss things after the fact and talk about maybe something that you heard, a challenge you're having in your organization specifically you want to throw out to the group. I can certainly jump in and help. I know Paula and Alan with their expertise at the SBDC can jump in and help. And I know we've got Dawn Creighton on the line. She knows all about this too. She could probably be teaching this webinar as well. I'm sure Dawn is willing to jump in and offer her support and her advice as well. So let's get started. I will share my screen here. All right. And hopefully you're all seeing the first slide on winning the war on talent. Paula's nodding. Thank you, Paula. All right. So a little bit about me. And if you would just keep yourself on mute, if you don't mind, while we're going through quickly. And that way everyone will be able to hear this part of the program. And then we want you to unmute when we're in the Q&A and all be talking. Not at the same time, but we'll work that out when we get there. So a little bit about me. I work here at the Employers Association of the Northeast. Who are we? We're a membership-based organization with 1,070 members across New England, and we help support these organizations with their people and their process. So we have an HR hotline. We answer about 6,000 calls a year. During COVID, we were at like 9,000 calls a year. It was crazy. We do things like handbooks. We have training, all kinds of learning and development. So we live in this space and we talk to our members on a regular basis, which is why sometimes we have a really good pulse on what's happening in the marketplace and what's going on with all things workforce related. So we're going to talk about the roller coaster, where we are today. What is the economic climate? What is the workforce climate? We're also going to talk about what it means to have good employee engagement, or EX, because that really makes a difference in your organization. We're going to talk about what motivates people, including our employees, right? What are the 4 parts of motivation? And this is all based on neuroscience. Don't worry, I'm not going to geek out and neuroscience you over the top here today, but there are some really interesting things I'm going to share about how we motivate people. How do we retain the employees we have? How do we find new ones? And how benefits fit into this mix, right? So it's a pretty aggressive agenda. So we are going to move right along here. And as you're thinking about this, we're talking about employee engagement, retention, attraction, and really it can be summed up in this slide. You know, your organizational culture is really can be determined by how your employees feel about coming to work for you a Sunday night if you start your workday on a Monday, right? Are employees excited? Are they saying, yep, looking forward to it, I've got this, this, and this week? Or are they literally sitting on the couch on Sunday night saying, oh, like, I got to find a new job, right? That matters in terms of winning the hearts and minds of your employees. And as business owners, you're often focused on other things. You're working on the finance side of the business, the sales, the marketing side of the business. We definitely have to put some things in place to shore up the infrastructure of our employee experience. So we're going to dive right into it today. So where are all the people? That's what I get asked the most when I go places and I say, well, I work in workforce development and things like that. Well, how come I can't find any people? Where'd they all go? Not a simple answer. It's not one thing. It's not two things. It's the culmination of the things that you see on this slide. We have high baby boomer retirements, right? Baby boomers retired at a record clip starting the end of 2020 with the pandemic. Baby boomers also are almost twice the size population-wise of the Gen Xers. So we have Gen Xers coming up, and there's half the number of them that there are baby boomers. So you can see why we have a problem filling our management positions. All the baby boomers are retiring. There aren't enough Gen Xers. So we're looking at our millennials that are coming into the pipeline to replace some of those key leadership positions. In general, we have lower birth rates in the country. It's some crazy stat, like we've gone from like 2.6 to 1.7. You know, we're chunking up the kids here. But the reality is, over the next 10, 20, 30 years, that chart is going down, 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 down. We're producing less workers, right, by having less kids. That's going to impact the market. It already has started impacting the market. We have an opioid crisis. During the pandemic, it got worse. Alcohol abuse, drug abuse, domestic violence, all got worse during COVID. That pulls people out of the workforce. It's particularly tough on males from 24 to 54. Really, really challenging. Some of those folks are out of the workforce now, in recovery, we hope, and then we'll come back into the workforce, but that's a piece of the workforce that's missing. We also have massive migration out of the Northeast. Okay, I've got some charts that I can show you. If you're interested in this kind of thing, you can send me an email after, I'll send them to you. Mass migration out of the Northeast into southern and western states. So we're losing folks that way. Maybe it's weather, maybe it's they're moving to tech hubs, but we're known as a knowledge corridor here, right? From Connecticut into Massachusetts, where we've got great colleges and universities. We don't retain that talent well here in this area. And we have some migration issues of people moving out. Anybody heard of quiet quitting? It made the mainstream news, right? Quiet quitting, quiet firing. We have employees now in control of the market because there are 2 open positions for every qualified individual. They're driving the bus here. We don't like it as employers. We complain about it. We have to adapt, right? Because it is what it is right now. So we're going to get, you know, kind of a hard dose of reality today in terms of where we are, but then we're going to give you some solutions on what you can do to help make things better and improve your position here. And it really is all about creating that great employee experience through your culture. So let's talk about a few definitions here. When we talk about your employee experience, it's really made up of 2 different things. Your employee experience is comprised of the total rewards you're offering as someone who would come to work for you, and your employee value proposition. So we're looking at these things kind of separately. So really 1 + 2 = 3 here. The top 2 boxes together equal the employee experience. So total rewards is everything from compensation, right? We pay people to come to work for us. That's our exchange. That's our currency exchange. You come work for me for X number of hours a week doing this job, I'm going to pay you this. We also do benefits, right? Everybody's a little bit different with what benefits they're offering. That's on the 5-point total reward star. We have comp, we have benefits, we've got well-being. What am I doing to take care of the wellness and well-being of my employees? Maybe I offer an EAP, I do some financial education webinars, or I bring somebody in to talk to my employees about this. It's the well-being of your employees. That's the third point on the star of total rewards. Recognition is the fourth one. Am I recognizing my peak performers through compensation, through a thank you, through a recognition program? Maybe I've got peer-to-peer recognition programs. And the fifth point on the star is development. How am I developing my people? What kind of opportunities will I have as an employee working for you, Chris, Anita? I'm calling you out because I can see you on my little sidebar here. What kind of development opportunities am I going to have working for your organization? Maybe I'm going to get some leadership development. Maybe I'm going to get some cross training in another department, right? That's total rewards. The employee value proposition is that promise that an employer makes. Paula, you're coming to work here, and I'm committed to giving you a 5-point total reward system that offers you this, this, and this, right? That kind of equals the employee experience. What an employee feels and experiences as a candidate working for your organization. So here's an example of the total rewards model. And if any of you are interested in seeing this, and you're taking some notes or what have you, don't worry, I can send this to Paula and she can send it out to everybody so you can have it. This just kind of shows you how organizational performance really is directly tied to the total rewards model and the experience of your employees, right? So we do, as business owners, business leaders, have to take some time to focus on this. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. This is from Mercer, and it's a very simple diagram, but it says an awful lot. And it really is a cool way of describing how you win the hearts and minds of your employees. Because if you can do that and you're able to connect them emotionally to your organization, whether it be mission, whether it be relationships inside the organization, there's a lot of ways to do it. You have them as in retention wise. They're going to be high producers for you. That generates more revenue for you. It's a win-win-win, right? So we start out kind of at the bottom of this triangle with the basic offerings as employers. You're coming to work for me. I'm going to pay you. I'm going to give you some benefits. That's, that might be enough to tie some people to your organization or attract new ones to your organization. If you go a little further, and that's going to differentiate you from your competition, who's also trying to hire your people away from you, and you're competing against them for open candidates in the market. That's what they call the experiential part of the employee value proposition, where you have some influence and you can draw people to your organization over them going somewhere else, whether they're working for you or you're recruiting them. And that might be career development. That might be focusing on well-being initiatives, right? Those other 2 points in the total reward star that we talked about, beyond comp and benefits, right? The top tier is where the magic happens, right? The purpose. If you can tie those people working for you, or you can market your organization in a way that will attract candidates to you that way through your mission, vision, values, purpose, emotional connections, helping your employees make friends and collaborations in the workplace. That's the emotional secret sauce that really helps tie people to your organization and what you're doing. So we talked a little bit about motivation. How do we motivate people to do their best work for us, right? We pay them, we want them to come in, they have a lot going on in their personal lives, right? Sometimes they bring those into work, which is not fun, and you need an HR person for that, navigating some of those things. So what are the 4 drivers of motivation? Here's the neuroscience, right, that I kind of scared you with in the beginning of this. Everybody is built similarly in our brains, right? We have different parts of our brains, but research has showed that people are motivated through 4 different drivers. And what we have to do as employers is pull the right levers with these drivers to get them fully engaged to do their best work for us. So the 4 drivers of motivation, the first one's a drive to acquire. We like to have things, right? Oftentimes this is we work to get money so we can purchase things. So we have a place to live, so we can buy a car, so we can buy things, go on vacation. It's the drive to acquire things. That's one intrinsic motivator. The second is the drive to bond. That you've been hearing me say that, I think, in the last few slides, where if we can help people build those bonds in our workplace, friendship, collaborations, have people have a sense of belonging in an organization, they feel good about coming to work. Remember that Sunday night dread versus Sunday night excitement about coming to work the next day? That's another motivator. That's another driver. We also have a drive to comprehend things, understand them, be challenged in our roles, right? We don't want to necessarily do the same thing over and over. Our brain needs to be challenged to do different things. The fourth one is the fight or flight, right? The drive to defend ourselves if we're threatened. So really, it's the first 3 that we can focus on in terms of bringing those levers, pushing those levers. And we're going to talk about that on this slide, how those motivators translate into levers you can bring into your company to help get your folks motivated. So as examples, our drive to need things, want things, acquire things, the reward system. One of the most important things you can do is make sure you distinguish your good performers from your poor performers, right? And I'm going to challenge you today with those poor performers. You've got to move them up or move them out. They are dragging you down, right? Somebody who you're constantly shaking your head. They're always late. They put in minimal effort. Despite the fact that you explain things to them 12 times, they don't have any interest in doing things the right way. They might be, I heard this expression this week, they might be a culture terrorist. It's a little extreme, but there's a lot of organizations that have saboteurs in their work environment, right? Who they kind of get off just kind of causing chaos, disruption. We can't have those folks, right? Because that goes against our reward system for our good performers. So we want to be watching that for sure. On the bonding, on the relationship side of things, we want to foster friendships, foster collaboration, and make sure people are being given the opportunity to work together and build those relationships. On the understanding and the challenge side of things, we want to make sure people are clear on what their expectations are. What do we expect from them in this role? And how does that contribute to the mission, vision, values of the organization? Now, you might run a restaurant and you're saying, well, my mission is to serve our customers with a smile and get them coming back, next week for dinner, right? It doesn't have to be this complicated Fortune 100, 12-point mission, vision, value statement. You just want to make sure people have an understanding of that expectation. And then in terms of the defense mechanism, as transparent as we can be about pay, about expectations and consistency, that really helps reinforce people's defenses so they feel like they're being heard, they're being listened to, and things are being run the correct way. So I love this slide. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it. It's from Gallup. And you want your employees to be able to answer a lot of these questions, right? Do I know what's expected of me at work? Do I receive feedback? And including praise, but also including constructive feedback. Hey, Paula, I see you got this done this way. That's great. Next time, could you try it this way? I think it might be easier for you, right? Constructive, respectful feedback is something that we have to all get used to. And your managers, your supervisors, anyone who's in charge of people in your organization need that message. We should be treating everybody with that level of respect, right? It's a two-way street, feedback. We have to be able to receive as well as give feedback. So these are some of the questions that I think we want our employees to be able to answer, which will get you to that better culture. Leadership is a big differentiator. I know in small business, it's really tricky. You may be the only person leading people as the business owner. You might have a lead person. Whoever it is in leadership has got to have the trust of the employees, right? So if it's yourself, if it's a couple of key people in the organization and small businesses, it's often a small leadership team. Make sure that everybody is on the same page in terms of performance and expectations, and that they are having those courageous conversations with feedback, gaining feedback from the employees as well. Because this is what happens if we don't do that, right? If we do annual performance reviews, we've surveyed, right? Not me personally, but Work Human. They're a great organization out of Framingham. They work internationally. They measure all of this great HR stuff. More than half of people, workers who get an annual performance review, say it doesn't improve their performance. So why the heck are we doing it, right? Doing it that way. We've got to have some sort of performance measurement system, but the annual performance review is not the way to do it. 85% of workers who have regular check-ins. Now, this is weekly, which can be a lot. In a small business, I would challenge you to say it can be done, right? If you're Tesla, you're probably not going to be able to do that. If you're EANE, we've got 30 employees, we try to do that, right? Weekly check-ins, how are things going? Create that engagement between you, the owner or a leader, and your employees. Because look at only 2% of workers who have those regular check-ins are disengaged from their job. We could have a high impact on our retention if we're doing this. So this slide always dates me with the Rock'em Sock'em robots, and I live right down the street from Hasbro, so there you go. But we've got to balance running our business, getting stuff done, and sticking to our bottom line and our policies and our practices with some empathy and with some understanding that our employees are coming into our workplace with some stuff in their backpacks, right? And sometimes it's a lot. We don't even know until maybe somebody has a total meltdown. And then we're like, wow, I had no idea that was going on. So we have to be able to balance that in terms of retaining staff, right? So we've talked about the problems in workforce right now, where the people are. We're talking about retention now. How do we make sure we retain the staff we have? And once we talk about that, we're going to move closer towards attracting new talent to the organization. So when we talk about empathy and accountability, we're talking about that mix, and it really involves transparent communication, right? So talking with folks, caring about them, right? We don't need their whole story. You might get the whole story. That's okay. That means they feel comfortable sharing with you. So, but we want to know enough to ask and do check-ins. And if somebody needs something that we can assist them with, we need them to know that we truly care about their well-being while they're doing the work that we need them to do for us. And if it's not from the perspective of simply caring, you got to look at it from the bottom line perspective of, if you do this, you're going to have that employee longer and they're going to work harder for you, right? If I can't sell you on, hey, it's the right thing to do, I'm going to tell you that if you can do it and you do it right, it's going to keep people with you and you're going to get the best productivity. You don't lose when you do this. So how do we do that? And by the way, if you have any questions, please type them into the chat and we will definitely address those. Identify your top performers. We talked about that earlier in the motivation slide. There's nothing more demotivating for a performer who you think does a great job all the time. They just go do it. They come in, they complete their shift at the restaurant, they complete their work, however many hours. They're always willing to go the extra mile. We all have these great employees. When they see somebody who's slacking, not doing it, and not being addressed, there's nothing more demotivating than when that happens. That is a culture killer. So you want to know who your peak performers are and talk with them. There's something called a stay interview. You may have been hearing about this. It's a conversation with your top performers. How are things going? What do you think we could be doing differently? Operationally or for you individually, how do we keep you engaged here? You're doing a great job, right? Don't wait till they give their notice and you're doing an exit interview. Do a stay interview. Make sure that you've got realistic job descriptions and you're doing, really good detailed performance reviews with those regular check-ins, at least quarterly, right? So performance feedback is tricky. Nobody likes to deliver confrontational information. Paula, man, you screwed up that project, right? I got to tell you, never seen anything like it. We're not going to do that. We're going to say, Paula, we had some challenges with this project. This is what went wrong. This is what it should have been. How are we going to work on that, right? How can we do that? We're coaching. We're coaching. Think of the NFL. It's football season, right? We're all coaches now. Those of us who are leading people, if it's one person you're leading, you're still a coach. And you got to bring that coaching mindset in. So make sure that you're onboarding new candidates and you're taking the time to show them the job, encouraging them to come back to you if they have questions. You're offering as much flexibility as you can, and that you're communicating really frequently with those new employees too. The first 90 days, 120 days are critical with those new folks. And, going back to the quiet quitting, the signs of quiet quitting's been around forever. It's not a new thing. The media picked up on it. It was buzzy, catchy. They ran, down the road and back with it. HR people, professional HR people will tell you this has been going on for decades. And it's just the level of engagement you have with your employees. It's those top 20% who show up enthusiastically, do their job, don't max out all their sick time by April, ask for more work, make suggestions. That top 20% is there. Then you've got your bottom 20%, maybe it's bottom 10%, hopefully. And then you've got your folks in the middle who you're working to get up that chain. The quiet quitters tend to be towards the lower end of that scale. They're not engaged. They're not participating. You're not sure what they're doing. So we've got to watch for that, coach them up or coach them out. So let's talk about benefits at the end. I'm going to skip over that and talk a little bit about attracting talent, because I want to make sure that we get to that part. So you've got your base. We're shoring up our infrastructure here in terms of what we're offering our existing staff, our new staff coming in. How do we attract new talent into our companies? Job descriptions are great. They should be very thorough. They should not be the same. You should not be posting your job description in your recruitment ad, right? So I'm not going to say, if I'm looking for an accounting clerk, I'm not going to say EANE is looking for an accounting clerk. Those duties are A, B, C, D, E. Send me your resume. On my job ad, I'm going to say EANE is looking for an accounting clerk. We are an organization that is a nonprofit. We're mission driven. Our core values are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our team looks like this. We offer flexible work hours. We offer flexible benefits. We offer a competitive salary, and we are blah, blah, blah. That's what you're going to say in your recruitment ad. We don't want to regurgitate our job description. That's not enough today to attract people to you. The next thing to do is remove the friction from your application process. Are you posting it on Indeed? Are you waiting 2 weeks before you call people back, right? The shorter time to hire mindset has to happen everywhere today, any job, right? You've got to have somebody have a friend, have a family member apply for your job. Make sure if it's going through your website, if it's coming through LinkedIn, Indeed, another job board, ZipRecruiter, make sure it's an easy process. They're not getting asked for the same information over and over and over again. Sometimes we don't know. We set these things up and we press play and we're moving on, right? We got other things to do. Take the time to make sure it's a good experience for candidates. And, sell the sizzle. What with them, right? What's in it for me as a candidate? Why do I want to go to work for Anita? Why do I want to go to work for her organization? I need to know that. Use video if you can in your ads on your website. If you've got a jobs page link on your website, if you've got somebody that works for you, that is your brand ambassador, again, that top 20%er that always shows up, record them on your cell phone, put that in your ad, put that out on social media. XYZ company, we're hiring wait staff. We're hiring distribution workers. Here's Jimmy who works for us. Here's what Jimmy has to say about working here. People don't want to read anymore. Their attention is less. Their attention span is less. We know this, right? But they will watch a video. You can engage them for a 30 to 60-second video clip. So look at your interview process, look at your job posting process, and it helps to talk about individual learning pathways when you're talking with candidates. What will they learn? What will their development be? There we go, that 5-point total rewards: comp, benefits, well-being, recognition, development. How can I develop here? How can I grow here? Right? They want to know that in the interview process. So we're going to try to clean things up, right? Focus on that total rewards model, that 5-point star to create our employee engagement. We're going to shore up our process in terms of hiring. We're going to make sure we're not putting our job description in our job ad. We're going to get some of our employees to do some videos in terms of our job ad. We're going to make sure our process is tightened up. Be out there on social media. If you can't do it, invest in somebody. Find a millennial. They're great at it. We've got a millennial here. She happens to be my daughter, who does social media at EANE part-time, right? She does it like 6 hours a month. She just posts on Facebook and LinkedIn for us. Find someone who can show you how to do that. It's good. You don't have to be the highest payer in the market. You are competing against a very big pool out there, a multi-industry pool of people. If you're in the restaurant business, right, you're competing against other restaurants. If you're in retail, you're competing against fast food, other retail. It's not just your industry. So do know where you are, where you stand, but really focus on that entire package that you can offer someone. And that's what you should be promoting. If you're the lowest, you got to own it, right? I know you can go down the road and make more. Here's what you're going to get here. Know enough about your package, your total rewards, to be able to talk about it and share it and convince people that if you come here, this is what you'll get. We have a much better culture here. We have a much faster advancement potential here. We have more flexible hours here. Know where your differentiators are and be ready to articulate those. And everybody interviewing should know what those are. Benefits plans. The benefits space is going a little sideways at the moment, right? And the traditional medical, right, health insurance, dental, vision, life insurance. Yes, that's still out there. But then there's pet insurance. There's all kinds of wellness benefits. There's tuition reimbursement benefits. There are lifestyle accounts where employers are setting aside $100 a month, $200 a month per employee, and whatever these other benefits are that you want, go get them. So it's kind of like a kitty of money per employee because you're a small business owner and you don't have time to call Gratify and Cambridge Credit Counseling and all of these other partners to line them up. But you're going to say to people, choose what's important to you. If it's pet insurance, great. We'll contribute this amount of dollars in a lifestyle account. Submit that request or submit the reimbursement. We'll cover that. It's definitely the way the trend is going. organizationally. So you need to know about those kind of things. And you need a benefits broker that's going to bring these ideas to you. If you see your broker once a year, 1 month before your renewal, and that's all they're doing, that's not good enough. You need to challenge them to do more for you because that space is growing. So here's the end game. Here's what we really want to see, right? We want to see an organization that offers meaningful work where people feel, like they've got some autonomy, they're not being micromanaged, that their management team is transparent and they coach, that the environment is, is inclusive and asks for their feedback, maybe some flexibility, that has some growth opportunity. It doesn't have to be, small businesses don't have a lot of upward mobility, but there's a lot of side mobility, horizontal mobility that people have. Maybe they want to do a different job in the company, or what we call job enrichment, giving them an extra project, right, to do. Maybe it's a couple times a year. It can be a horizontal, doesn't have to be up and down. Leadership has to be trusted, right? We've got to articulate what the mission and purpose of our company is. It's great if you have formal mission, vision, values. That is a guidepost for us to follow. But if you don't have them formally, that's okay too. Just make sure people understand what the mission of the organization is and how they relate to what the mission is in their position. And then health and well-being, really, really big right now. People are dealing with a lot in that backpack. There's a lot happening. So we are invested more in our employees, and that is not going anywhere. I talked to some CEOs who are, coming up to retirement, and they're like, oh, I can't wait to retire because I can't take this, right? We used to just be able to pay people. They'd come to work. I didn't have to know anything about them, and they would go home to their families, right? That was the transactional currency between employee and employer. That's gone. I don't see it ever coming back. It's a much more collaborative, inclusive, warm environment where we still have accountability through continual coaching, through transparency, through tough conversations sometimes, but it is through caring and building that accountability and empathy. So, our employees are still our most important asset. We can't do it without them. We can't do everything ourselves, especially in a small business. So these are some of the things that will help you get there for sure. So I want to stop sharing now, and I know that was rapid fire info. Happy to answer questions, thoughts, comments, things you're doing well in your own organizations.
Why don't we do this? I'm going to stop recording now. So people feel free to let your guard down, folks.